Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to you wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another Zoom meeting and podcast of Here's Tom with the Weather, where we investigate the plethora of higher powers that populate the vast universe of recovery, particularly where the founders of AA encourage us to find some kind of higher power as long as it's not us. For example, in the third step of the Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step program, where it states, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And also to the 11th step, where it says, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. We speak to people with all manner of higher powers, from those who are atheists, Sufis, agnostics, Christians, Buddhists, followers of Islam, Hermetics, paganists, and non-dualists. We leave no stone unturned. It's our aim to promote understanding and open-mindedness so that alcoholics and addicts can find a higher power of their own to stay sober and carry the message. And just let me repeat that. We promote tolerance and empathy for folks who have different spiritual practices to us. It's all about live and let live. And please remember that this is not an AA meeting or a 12-step meeting. It's just an investigation of some people's version of the truth, whatever that may be. And sometimes we talk to seekers, to gurus, and people not necessarily in recovery. And today, it's my honor to introduce you to Tyce Watts, whose age is 33, and I believe, Tyce, it's your birthday today, or tomorrow.
No, that'd be tomorrow for me, today for you, I believe.
Yeah, and what's that? So you're 34 then, mate, yeah?
Yep.
Good one. Well done. Welcome to the aging club. You're most welcome. So I'll just give you a little bit of a bio about Tyce. Tyce is an electrician, an esoteric librarian, hermeticist, alchemist, and an alchemist historian. He was born and raised in a small town in southwest Iowa, where he says he had nothing better to do than cause trouble and do drugs, until one day he was sent to church and was told some very crazy things that sparked his passion and got his first taste of what it means to find God, or whatever that means, and has since spent the rest of his life scouring the bowels of old libraries and bookstores for books on religion, magic, and physics. He then, and in his own words, got in an old hacker chat room and asked to find a mentor, where he promptly found an old Egyptian woman who guided him through what books to start with. He eventually realized, after years of digging ounces of gold from piles of crap, again his words, that we're all one and magic is just misunderstood physics, semantics, and alchemy. He then connected even more dots and has since dedicated himself to helping others to empower themselves to be the best that they can be. And that's a hell of an introduction. So welcome, Tyce. It's great. And that is a fantastic intro, mate. So right off the bat, can you give us, we got a little bit of your story there, but can you give us a bit of a story and an explanation of Hermetics in sort of, not in 50 words, but less, but in a few minutes? Is that okay, Matt?
Yeah, I got you. Hermetics is basically the study of energy. It was based off of a tablet that was found called the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. And in this tablet, it goes over certain universal laws, patterns that are just undeniably true. And in this tablet, it's very short, it's 14 different laws, very similar to the 12-step program, actually. But they are written metaphorically, so you can understand them on multiple levels. And most of it is been translated by a lot of old scholars, one being even Sir Isaac Newton. And that's actually the one I prefer to read. It's easily translated into English for me, you know. Okay. And the first law is basically, it is true without untruth, certain most true, you know, I mean, which to me means that when something is true, it will always be true. It's squared, you know. Okay. And then the other one was that is above, which is so below, which is what everybody knows and can be likened to Horton, here's a who. And it talks about how energy can be big. It can be you doing things. The energy of your heart, the energy of your emotions, the energy of just the particles moving through the air. Energy is in many forms. I mean, electricity, emotions, physical movement, and subatomically, sound. It's everywhere. And the tablet goes into talking about how the everything is one, and really that's where the higher power comes in, you know, because there is a energy between all atoms that connects us, and that's source. And understanding how to use this tool that's been given to us is what Hermetics is.
Okay, so is like you mentioned before, I think we've had this conversation earlier in the week. We had a bit of a chat, and it was fascinating to hear it. And you spoke about it as if magic, what we would perceive to be magic, is actually an ancient science, and that was my understanding of what you were sort of saying. Is it's not actually magic. It's not like making things disappear and appear. We're actually talking about science. Is that right?
Yes, yes. There are technological advances right now that are being inputted to prove what I'm saying here. And energy is registered, or how can I say, measured in frequency. Everything is frequency. And well, a line on a piece of paper changes that paper's frequency. The color of that paper changes that paper's frequency. Shapes on it, and etc. Anything you do to it changes its frequency. Now, everything, when we touch, collides. It only collides because the frequency is slightly different. Otherwise, we turn into balls of atoms and just mush together all the time. Now, there are correspondences of old, which would be the magic correspondences and what you use to make a witch's circle or create your ritual or write down your alchemical formula. And these symbols are meant to program your mind, make neural pathways to empower your belief and your passion. And this changes your energy. And you project this energy into the atoms around you. And that makes a ripple effect. That ripple effect comes back and forth, and it makes an energy. And that is what ritual magic has been all about. It's finding subtle ways, very small ways to affect the energies around us to manifest desires. And
so you mentioned manifestation, and that's quite interesting in terms of, so it is essentially the inner us is manifesting the outward world. Is that the sort of thing? Is that what we're kind of talking about there?
Manifesting is kind of a widely defined term, but essentially, yes. Anything that we feel, think inside guides our perception of what is, and also changes around us what is. You desire to do something with your heart. You become passionate about it. That passion drives your perspective. That perspective also, in turn, alchemically reacts with others' perspectives around you. And depending on how their drive and what their perspective is, will also alchemically mix and reflect, sometimes deflect, collide, however the situation occurs, with yours as well. And really, we're all just particles running around, these standing waveforms of particles. And understanding that our heart and mind creates the environment around us and affects the environment around us, as well as everyone else's does to us, is really key here. Hermetics goes over the alchemical tablets, or tablet, sorry, and it talks about not only physical alchemy, as in using acids to clean the ores of gold to make it shine, but the stresses that we have to go through life is the acid that cleans the corrosion off our souls and hearts to make us the best us we can be, which is literally a been dubbed vitriol, which is an alchemical and a minor term for cleaning ores, or evolution through struggle.
Okay, I wanted to just go back a bit, mate. And in your bio, you spoke about doing drugs, and then you went to church. And was it a spiritual awakening? I'm interested just to know a little bit more about Tyce and how that happened for you. On paper, it looks like you were at the low, had some sort of rock bottom, perhaps, and you had a spiritual awakening. Is that true? Can you give us a bit of an insight into that?
Oh yeah, I was a big troublemaker, and I was pretty narcissistic. Didn't really care about nobody but myself. My dad was in prison. My mom was a bartender who dated more drug dealers, and they're both doing better for themselves now. But back then, I just would despise the world, so I didn't care either.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a lot of drugs, anything that came my way, just to experiment, and see what it did. I didn't get into harder drugs till way later, because I always believed like methamphetamines and heroin was kind of, just taboo and bad. However, I did start trying the methamphetamines at some point, and started getting into the cocaine, and but I usually stuck with drugs like marijuana, liquor, pills, stuff like that, mushrooms, LSD.
Wow.
And well, I got in trouble with the law quite a bit, more or less for vandalism and just being a nuisance to society. And my mom decided that she was going to give me something to do with my life and sent me to church. It was a weekend Sunday thing as well as a Wednesday thing. And the pastor there, his name was Dave McDonald, great man. He kind of took me and a few other guys there under his wing, and he started inviting us over to his house and stuff, and we'd have discussions and whatnot. And he'd even answer a lot of the hard questions. And if you didn't know, we'd dive into it, and that was really cool. And I respected him for that. And because elsewhere, when I had asked these certain questions and whatnot, I'd just been brushed off or looked at like I'm dumb or whatever. And no one wants to feel like that. Later, I realized, that was just the pastors, projecting onto me because they didn't want to look dumb, and it's no one's dumb, just nobody likes not being called out, not knowing an answer in front of their peers. And then, that's understandable. But I didn't know that at a young age, So here I am, just asking everything I could think of, looking for any loophole because I was trying to debunk things.
Yeah.
And I loved going to this place though, because they promoted skating and we skated and stuff. They really they really made us feel like we weren't nuisances, even though we were, and that kind of helped us change who we were. But then we went to this quest. Is a group, how can I say, a retreat to Minneapolis, Minnesota, at a college up there. And there was so many people of different Christian walks, and I got to talk with a lot of people, and then opened my mind to books that weren't in the Bible, as well as a bunch of other things. And we went to this, how can I say, it was a guy on a stage. He was a pastor on a stage just telling us his life and his story and what he learned. And there were so many people there. You can feel the energy around you. Okay. And when this guy was talking, I don't remember what he said because it was so long ago, and I wasn't even, it's like I went somewhere else. I was feeling the energy of source within everybody right then and there. And at that point, I was like, this has got to be it. This is what it feels like to be on fire. This is the passion. This is the drive that these people are looking for. This is why they feel whole,
Mm-hmm.
And that really made me dive into things after that. I mean, that was my real awakening there. And then I didn't stop doing drugs by any means. I was still experimenting, and I used a lot of drugs to experiment. And I found that the best they can do is just open perspectives and show you things that you can achieve, but you'll never achieve unless you do it on your own. Like, I mean, they make you feel one way, sure, but you only get that for so long, and doing these things have drawbacks. But when you can learn to empower your heart and set your heart on fire just by memories or feelings that you've had before, or you can achieve by getting hugs or making memories happen and really indulging in these, you can create that passion and those feelings yourself inside yourself. And that is internal alchemy, because our brain works with chemicals and neurological pathways and electronic signals. And there is not one chemical in this world that is not produced in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
And we ourselves have the ability to program our minds. And this wasn't something that I learned until a deep study into esoterics. See, because up until now, I was a Christian. The only outside anything I was ever told about magic was this girlfriend I had who wanted me to get into paganism, and I think she was just into a weird sex cult. But I didn't entertain that in any way. I was like, nah. My family was kind of born Christian, so I just kind of went that way and leaned that way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, once I further down the road, did a lot of drugs. My mom kicked me out of the town and said I had to go live with my dad. Said he needed to straighten me up. And so I went there, got a job, did some more drugs. At this point, my favorite thing to do was take Xanax and liquor and run out and spray paint trains.
All right.
But now I got a computer after I got a job. And I built this thing myself. I just Frankensteined it together from parts that I bought from the thrift store that I worked at. And once I did, like I said, I got on this chat room, and the chat room was a backwater room for basically people who like to use exploits and share information, or what could be considered a hacker chat room. And I was asking about if there was anyone who could teach me more about God. And this Egyptian girl, she said, you should look up the Key of Solomon and the Zephyr Reziel and the Hermetic tablet. So I dove in. And at this moment, I was also I presented a Deck of Thoth book, which is actually written by Aleister Crowley. And I read this book, as well as the Key of Solomon, the Hermetic tablet, and the Zephyr Reziel, as fast as I could, because I was like really, really desiring more information for God, because I realized I was feeling empty again, like I wasn't on fire no more. And after that, I found out that I could download music and movies over the internet with like Napster and LimeWire, stuff like that. I'm sure people remember those. Yeah. And I was like, well, if we can do that, I wonder if I can do books. So I started downloading books that way, and then I found so many different ways to find books. I would go to different yard sales and garage sales, and I actually found red hardback Mason books, and a lot of them were written in code, and that intrigued me. I was like, oh, I've really got to get into that. And these guys are it seems to be that their basic following is Aramaic Jewish. You know, they start with Adam and Eve and follow their lineage of geometry and alchemy and their wisdom from there. And I studied them for quite some time now. Even got into the whole conspiracy theorist agenda in 9/11 for a while. And the Hermetic tablet is really what stood out above all else when it come to any of this. The Key of Solomon is a book about summoning angels and demons that Latin Christians and Jews believed to be the writings of King Solomon and the man who used in one tale demons to make the Temple Mosque, and the Masonic tales actually used like 20,000 Masons, Hiram Abiff being one of the Grand Masters himself. That's just a book about summoning angels and demons, and that and it's actually invoking them, which is bringing out these energies in yourself, I guess. And I looked at that and I was like, well, this seems like a very, very tricky and risky way to play with your brain chemicals, is the way I see that. You know, I was like, this is brain alchemy. And I understood that only because I had read the Emerald Tablet and the Book of Thoth by Aleister Crowley. The Book of Thoth.
Sorry, Tyce, on the Aleister Crowley thing, I mean, he's got one hell of a reputation and not necessarily good one. But I just wanted to just go back to sorry, I don't want to cut in too much, but I just was so interested in you talk about angels and demons and stuff. But I guess the big question for me is did you actually find out what God was? You know, you said when you discovered that people were into God at the church. What's your understanding of God, if you don't mind?
Well, I believe I said it earlier. God is the source energy that runs between all things. He is every atom and the energy between. He is the yin and the yang. The atoms, the dark part of the yin yang, and the energy, the metaphysical, is the light side, and he is the whole.
Are you talking about quantum physics? Are you talking about at a quantum level?
Yes. When
you say atomic, are you talking subatomic, and it's the energy between quantum particles? Is that sort of thing, right? And is there is there an intelligence there? Is that quantum thing? Is there a super intelligence? Is there a supernatural intelligence that binds all this? Is it like, you know, a creative intelligence there?
I will say yes, because the simple fact that we exist is proof. Because if you think about where the planet lies, away from the sun, it is in an exact spot that it can heat and cool itself and mix chemicals and the elements constantly to be a perfectly harmonic alchemical factory to sustain life.
Goldilocks.
The Goldilocks condition.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if that didn't exist, like if we didn't fall into that position, none of this could exist. And the odds of that are astronomical. And on top of bacteria constantly evolving through struggle, the astronomical odds of it creating us, or it creating the beings on the planet that are harmonically living off of each other. You know, a lot of people even look at pollution and say, oh, we're destroying the planet and everything like that. And I'm looking at it and saying that's an arrogant way to think that we could even do that. We are meant to do exactly what we are doing. Yes, there is struggle, but everything is meant to evolve through struggle and a perfect harmonic balance of creating bigger and bigger and better. And we are all yin and yang. We are all part God, part of God, living within God, made of God, by God. And understanding the alchemy of this is what magic is. But it was taught to primitive minds.
Mm.
You know, it was taught by advanced minds to primitive minds. Now, who these advanced minds were, I can't tell you. Some speculate they're aliens. You guys have all watched Ancient Aliens. Some speculate they're angels. Some speculate they were ancient humanoids that just knew stuff that others didn't. I'm willing to go with maybe all three.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way. You've really put it a beautiful way there in terms of the Goldilocks thing and the sheer kind of lottery number win of actually life existing. And I totally get that whole, you know, I think they use the thing about the monkey on the typewriter happening to do the works of Shakespeare. It's the odds are as similar to that, or probably more than that, you know, that can happen. And I think that's fantastic. Now, you mentioned about Masons, and I think that the Masons, I don't know a lot about Masons. I'll totally confess. I know they've got a secret handshake and they have a club, but I'm interested in the secret club. I'm sorry for any Masons here. So it's like, but what's the connection with Masons, and because Masons don't always get a good rep, and how does that work? What's the connection between Hermetics and the Masons?
All right. Well, the Masons are alchemists and masonry. They study rock, you know, and how it works, how to cut it, how to lay it, and their symbol is tools of God. Okay. So really what they're doing is they're learning, and they know what this called sacred geometry is. What this book I have by the Masons talks about. It says Adam, our first father, must have had sacred geometry written upon his heart. And their lineage, they trace, they talk about how each one was a master mason in geometry and alchemy, and talk about the 7 wonders of the world and how they were built by their people and all this bricklaying skills. Well, the Masonic teachings is side by side equal to the Hermetics, just in a different way. And if you have heard about the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, that is a mystery school. A lot of Masons attend that. Because that is the study of Hermetics. So they're side by side studies essentially, and they both, like, people in Hermetics will become a Mason, Masons will become Hermeticists, because they want to understand more of their craft, you know. And like I said, they don't really consider themselves tools of God, but they believe they know the tools of God. And that's exactly what I'm explaining to you today, is what alchemy is and Hermetics.
Wow.
And the best way I can relate it to addiction and overcoming with recovery is reprogramming the mind through your heart's desires, your emotions, your feelings, your neural pathways. Because what the 12-step program was based off of, from my understanding, is trying to overcome neurotransmission disorder. And so as we were talking, I understand God to be at a subatomic level. It's all energy, right? Well, so drugs, when you're doing them, you're constantly giving yourself the feeling of achievement. And you no longer find a drive to get that achievement, feeling of achievement, by any other way, because the easiest path is just doing a drug real quick. Now, how do you reprogram yourself from doing that? Well, you start embellishing in things, such as when you get a hug from somebody, or a good job, or whenever you pat yourself on the back, whenever you find something that you really enjoy, you embellish in it and try to turn on that burning passion in your heart again. And when you do that, it reprograms the brain. Everything you go through, the cause and effect, makes a neural pathway. So you're going to go through a situation, and it's going to be a bad situation. So every time you come up on a situation that reminds you in any way of that situation, you're immediately going to jump, because the neural pathway that's pre-connected to the reaction of the last situation that was like it. So instead of having your brain go, okay, well, I need this chemical, I need this, and I jump to the drug, you go, I need this chemical, so I'm going to do this because I know it'll give me the same chemical. And by doing so enough, you can retrain your muscles and your neural pathways in your brain to overcome the desire to do the drugs. But in order to do this, as the guide says, you need to meditate. You need to look inside yourself and turn on your passion and understand your desires, understand even your negative thoughts. In Hermetics or in esotericism, they call this shadow work. Understand your fears, understand your desires, your thoughts, both negative and positive. Your nightmares, your dreams, you need to analyze these things. Ask yourself why you feel this. Why do you think this? Is this what you want to feel? And is this what you want to think? You know, and it's all about turning yourself over to that higher energy that flows within us and understanding that it's all energy. And no matter what you do, what you see, what you hear, what you think, it's all you. And you go out to find a greater power, and you will find it in whatever you seek to find it in. You can find it in a friend. You can find it in a group. You can find it in the sky. You know, you can liken it to whatever you want, because it's in everything anyway. You know, which is why just about every religion I agree with some discernment, but they all are about finding source and being the best you that you can be. Everyone a little misdirected.
I just want to do a follow-up just quickly, because I see Kaiser's got his hand up. I just want to do a follow-up. Do you have a meditation practice that you do? Is there a reflection practice that you do? Is there some kind of ritual that you do on a daily basis or regularly? Can you just take us through that?
All right. So every morning I like to do what's called the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, LBRP. And I wake up and I look at each direction on the compass, north, south, east, west, and I draw the diminishing pentagram. And I banish the negativity from my existence. I call upon the energy inside myself from Creator of all. And I say, by this power, I banish the negativity around me and it within me. This is a very simple method of the LBRP. There are more advanced versions you can look up. You can go ahead and Google it even. And if you go to my website, the Hermetic Library, just Hermetic Library.
Yeah.
It's in the Files tab.
Okay.
I have many books in the Files tab that go over that. My next meditation process is, I have two types. I have one that I use to absorb energy. I have one that I use to calm my mind. The monkey brain is the part of the brain that I tell my children about that doesn't shut up. That just keeps going, keeps going. And a lot of people believe, hey, I need to try to shut that thing up. Just force it away, force it away, force it away. No. In order to shut the monkey brain up, you got to do your shadow work. So the first part of meditation is your shadow work. Getting into your thoughts, letting them run through. Let that monkey brain keep going and dive into it. Once you do that, then it will be easy to shut them up. because a lot of the monkey brain is a lot of stuff you're suppressing. And those things you don't want to go into. The things you've been avoiding by drinking or doing drugs or trying to fill your void by other people's attention, whatever. These thoughts you have to take care of. If you don't, they're going to be like cockroaches. It's like ignoring a cockroach. It's just going to infest and get worse, come at your brain even faster, sometimes harder. So
sorry, yeah. So can I just ask on that, is when you say diving into it, so do you let the thoughts pass, or do you actually have a conversation with those thoughts, if that makes sense, or is it something that you just you let them happen? I don't. What do you mean by dive in?
As you know, the monkey brain doesn't shut up, so it keeps going. So you got to pick and choose them, and you got to go. Yep, all right, I'm going to investigate this one. Okay, I'm going to investigate this one, and over time, it's going to get easier and easier to shut that monkey brain up. Now, when you're breathing, once you can get the monkey brain to slow down and shut up, and you can stop, because when you pick and choose those thoughts, it's your mind pre-programmed telling you these are the ones that are most prioritized in your brain right now. Okay, so when you can get rid of those priority things, it's a lot easier to just ignore the monkey brain and go, okay, I'm going to watch you as a television, but I'm not going to respond.
Okay.
So then once you get to that point, you can start using your breath and focusing on your breath in the nose, out the mouth. 3-second holds, no more, because that's depriving your brain of oxygen. The whole point of meditating is to make yourself at a higher base level state. You want to become harmonic, which is what Om is harmonic. And in that harmonic state, you can feel energies as if a fire was being blown at,
Okay.
So you start focusing on your breathing in the nose, out the mouth, in the nose, out the mouth. And that helps you stay focused. And this will clear your mind. That's when your mind will completely clear. Your brain chemicals will all get to their base level, and you'll feel better inside, because a lot of times we're running on a low base chemical baseline because we're not breathing right. And that's a lot of times why we crave drugs as well, because we feel like there's a void inside us that we need to feel because of the chemicals that we're lacking. So by breathing properly, you bring your brain chemicals, more oxygen to the brain, the better the brain works. Simple science. To a better base, even keel. And that is when your brain can relax and get into that meditation state. And then you feel at one. At that point, you are able to achieve a lot of internal work and just meditate on whatever you want to learn, teach yourself. I mean, the sky's the limit. Like I said, once you feel the energy and understand it, like in your heart and your mind, not just see it as like, okay, this is why this happens there, but knowing, okay, everything is connected, and no matter what I do, I'm pushing these atoms this way, and they're going all the way to the outside of the universe and coming back. And like knowing that true in your heart and whatnot, and being in that meditative state really allows you to manifest quite vividly. And that's a loophole from ritual. A lot of people use ritual to program their mind. So they're using this elaborate display and colors and symbols and different movements and stuff like that to program your mind, to project that energy, to make those things happen. That is what the key of Solomon is literally calls lesser magic. And higher magic is pulling it from your heart and your mind and knowing it's inside of you and that you can do it yourself, because we are all one. We're all part of source. And it's all alchemy. Wow. It's all alchemy at the atomic, subatomic, the somatic, the physical, all of it. It's all alchemy.
That's wonderful, Tyce. Mate, I'm going to have to share this out because we've got a few hands up here. So first, I'm going to go to thank you so much for that. Kaiser, you got a question there for Tyce?
I do. Hi, everybody. Kaiser, I identify as an alcoholic and a recovered alcoholic, one day at a time. Tyce.
Yeah.
It sounds like a Newtonian version of spirituality. I personally don't experience, believe, or use, or have any interest in magic whatsoever. I would say, oh, you're casting spells. And then when I listen to you and how you use what you have, I found the same answers through my practice. It's a little astounding. So there's a truth. Real quick, when you said that you know that there is a higher intelligence because the Goldilocks, because we're here, I arrived at that same thing in a totally opposite thing where I am intelligent. Therefore, there is some sort of an intelligence. I'm participating with it. How does someone like myself, who doesn't want to use any of these Newtonian, in my words, Newtonian ways of spirituality, how can I hold your truth? And what would you say to someone who is starting to investigate a form of higher power? I mean, it's astounding because you're so far different from me and you're coming up with the same results that I am. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. So
It is.
I used a term earlier called universal patterns. There are just certain things in this world that hold true no matter what. And as I also said, every faith I like because they all are built to come to the same thing, to become the best us we can be, to connect with source. And there is inherently a programming and an intelligent design. That's something that we agree on with the Goldilocks. So with that being said, what is that programming? Like a computer, what is that programming? And that's these universal patterns. And those are measured only by us with math and frequency, geometry, the sacred geometry, the Pythagorean theorem of harmonics and sound. And that is really where you can dive in to understand that if you yourself would like more of a scientific approach, the best book you could ever read is Manly P. Hall's Secret Teaching of All Ages. And the first chapter you should read is the chapter on Pythagoras. Just dive into that, and I guarantee you'd love it. Honestly, I hate to call things magic anymore because it's all just a misunderstood science, because many people have taken allegory to it instead of trying to investigate what it meant at a physical and atomic level, like subatomic in physics, because when it was introduced, physics didn't exist, and to this day, you can watch people pump different frequencies into liquids or sand, and they will make harmonically sound shapes, geometric frequencies, and these are also the patterns or the universal patterns and building blocks of life. This is a science that we're just now starting to understand. And in pharmaceuticals, they're using frequency to levitate droplets of water right now, so they can put in the chemicals needed to make the medicines. There has been a government facility called HARP that used frequency, and they used it to find things deep under the ground, mess with weather patterns, as well as Governor Ventura had a conspiracy theory show that talked about how the HARP was also able to transmit emotions into people's brains. And this was a facility with 360 antennas putting out really high electricity into our ionosphere and bouncing it completely around the world. Those have since then been abandoned publicly. One can only speculate that science has been introduced into many different forms at this point. I've also found a college, I believe it's a European college, that found that you can take crystals and etch programs in them, and they hold 3,000 terabytes of memory. And they do that with light frequency. Everything is frequency and patterns. And no matter what, as long as someone desires to find source and start noticing the truth and just going around the allegory and dogma that man has created, they will always find what you and I find here.
Thank you very much, Kaiser. And just to say on that, as well as I always say when we talk these things, is for everyone, is don't take Tyce's word for it. Go and look it up and do some research on it. Before you repeat this to other people, I would always suggest, and I'm not dismissing what Tyce is saying, but go and find it out for yourself. And just remember, we live in an age of information and disinformation. So if you really want to know the truth, is go and look up this. But this has been fascinating so far, Tyce. And I have to say, what's come to me so far is, mate, there's a lot more that unites us than divides us. And that's certainly true with what you're saying, because it's funny how we all have these different philosophies, but in the end, it's like we're all coming back to the same point. And I love what you've been saying. So I'm going to open up. Here's a regular, Alan. Alan in Middlesbrough in the UK. You're going to have to speak slowly, Alan, so everyone can understand you, mate. You know how it is. And you've got a question for Tyce. Can unmute you there, mate.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
Thanks for what you've said, Tyce. I've studied Hermetics myself, like Hermes Trismegistus, the law of polarity, the law of vibration, all is mind, mentalism, those kind of things. And I had a very profound experience because I was in a metaphysics class. And what we studied the Sephiroth, like the Tree of Knowledge, Chesed, Chibure, all them things. And what we were told to do, it might tie in with you, like you were about understanding fears and things like that. We were told to eat red meat, and the other thing was the Muldahara. Now in the yoga position, the root position, the chakra, but it's actually pronounced the Muldahara. And what it was, with eating the red meat and concentrating on the chakra, and the chakra is the color red. So we had to do that for a week. Now what happened with me, when I was on the bus, coming back from that class, I looked at the traffic light and I had to exclude everything, all the colors around me, and just concentrate on the color red. And before long, I had like a state of alarm coming into me. I don't know whether that was associated with the color of red, blood, like different associations and that. And then I went through me fears, like standing near railway lines, watching the train going past, not actually going into it, but just near enough to get the fear of it. To walk across a log on the valley, it's not a log, sorry, an iron pipe, and look down and stand there. So I confronted me fears. Now, to cut a long story short, 'cause it would take a long time, but when I come out of that valley, I had a profound experience, and I always like films like The Incredible Shrinking Man, 2001 Space Odyssey, and things like that. And I had to do my own interpretations in my own mind. But when I come out of that valley with the microcosm and the macrocosm, I felt like I'd overcome something, like the little man with the spider and that. And I thought, I can just about survive anything. And I have survived a lot of things in my life. I've had 2 corneographs, and just to show you quickly, I had about a 10 pence, contact lens in my eye. And when I was younger, for about 7 hours, a lot of pain. So I'm wondering, with all that experience and all that pain and facing me fears, and also going through the DTs and alcoholism and things like that, and all what I've done, and all the books I've read and things like that, like I know you like books and things. And I've also like about Aleister Crowley and things like that, and the Golden Dawn and whatnot. But what I would like to know, when you know you breathe in meditation, when you've concentrated on a color or a chakra, have you gone to the degree a full week of concentrating on one chakra to exclude everything else, that it overtakes the mind? And I thought, is that my imagination, or is this the law of polarity working? The law of vibration, which I know can go from the cycles from 10 to 20 to the alpha state to the delta wave to the, you know what I'm on about, the meditation, everything what you said. And you said that in a fire. And I know what you mean by that in a fire, because it can motivate you so much, you know, when you're in a depression or out like that, and to come out of it and to walk about 13 miles or whatever, you know, and to do these things, to do 100 press ups or to do 70 press ups or whatever, you know, to get through the day, if you know what I mean, like that. So I wonder if you had those profound experiences, really serious experiences, where the mind is really overtook.
Thank
Well,
you,
if
Ian.
I
Thanks,
hadn't,
Alan.
I wouldn't be able to actually come here today and say that with the passion of my heart that this is what it is. I have, when you concentrate on certain chakras and whatnot and try to cleanse them and open them up, you are allowing the energy to flow more freely through your body. These chakras are spoke about in multiple religions on multiple different levels. You've got Hindu, Chinese, you've got the Jewish version, the Kabbalah, you got Egyptian, but inept, and everyone, this is a very unpopular idea by many esotericism, but they're all speaking on the same thing, just different points of views, different things of founded study. If they all came together and realized this, we might have a better world. But this is something that a lot of higher ups in the religious communities dispute about. But the energies of our body flow through our blood, okay? And it flows through the spinal cord, okay? And the biology connects with the chakras, as well as the psychology, the external and the internal. So when you open up your energy vortices that are in your body, you are empowering yourself in a multitude of ways, psychologically and physically and metaphysically. And each study has their own version of these, and sometimes their translations of each chakra will be slightly different. Now, when you focus on the color red invokes passion. This is something that every artist and everybody can agree on, because it also invokes anger as well as love, which are both energies of passion. So when you are intently focusing on, say, your root chakra and it being red, and you are grounding yourself with passion, I mean, you're going to light yourself on fire, your heart on fire, you know, because essentially that's what you're focusing on. And that passion right there is where you manifest. I always tell people, keep your head connected to your heart. Make sure what you think is what you want to feel, and what you're feeling is what you want to think. Ask yourself both. And then when those are in tandem, you can really manifest. Because when you turn on that fiery passion in your heart, I mean, things just happen for you. You know, people see that in you. You guys can probably see it in me right now, because I'm being passionate about what I say. I'm just trying to like give you a description or a proof, if you will, you know.
Okay. Brilliant. Thanks, Tyce. That's amazing. Next question's Andra in Rochester. Hey, Andra.
There we are. Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Andra. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to speak with us today. Thank you, David, for having him. I'm not entirely quite sure where to begin. I don't know if any of you have had this experience of when you are seeking something for a long time, you don't know what it is, you don't know where it is, but you know you're seeking it, and then you get really, really, really close to it. There's this, I have this sense of tremendous excitement, and probably because I'm an alcoholic, it's immediately tampered with this going inside feeling of, and I'm sure it's fear that something I want really badly won't come to fruition. That's what I'm going through right now, because I'm very excited to hear you. You know, at the beginning of this, I was going to ask you to elaborate a little bit on how how you see principles of the Golden Dawn harmonizing with principles of the program, for instance, powerlessness. It drives me up a wall when silently drives me up a wall when I hear people in meetings talk about how completely, entirely powerless they are. And even if, sorry if you can hear that, even if someone is just an absolute big book thumper, I remind them that we're powerless over alcohol. We get our power back in step 11 by praying only for God's will for us and the power to carry that out. But I don't actually want to know about powerlessness right now. There's nothing in what you say that needs convincing for me. I'm right there with you on all of it. I'm 10 years sober. One of the gifts of my sobriety, probably the strangest gift of my sobriety, was that after I got sober, very quickly after I got sober, I don't like the words, but I'm going to use them anyway. I started developing psychic abilities that I didn't have before, or maybe I had, but obviously were tamped down by alcohol. So since then, I've been sort of kind of like the monkey mind, but really just grabbing at anything I could find that made sense to me. Energy healing, shamanic work, studying shamanism. Was it a year ago? I don't know. I started studying witchcraft with a woman. She's got this incredible wealth of knowledge, but she's part of a coven that's a different tradition. Right about when pandemic started, I was in a crushing depression. I swear I almost didn't survive it. Is when I started learning about and hearing about Golden Dawn. And immediately, I knew that's where I was supposed to be. Can't explain it. So I contacted the lodge in New York, and I've been going to a lot of their online stuff on the weekends. It's been very frustrating. The minute you said you wanted, that you found a mentor, I almost cried. I'm like, that is what I want. That is what I need. I need a mentor in the way that newcomers need a sponsor. And not somebody who says, go read this book, because, okay, doing that, I'm an intellectual sponge. I need actual
mentors. Excuse me, Andra. Sorry, Andrew, we're running out of time. So if you've got a question,
so my question is how, as somebody in the program, how do I really harmonize this with my sobriety as I move forward studying ritual magic.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Sorry about that. That was so long-winded.
It's okay. It's all right.
Well, if you really want, go to my group, Hermetic Library on Facebook, add yourself to it. There's a lot of really great minds there that will help you. And that is what the library is for people to read those books, ask and find out and help each other together and learn. Because I am not a Mason. I'm not a member of the Golden Dawn. I've been researching all this on my own and pretty much liberating these books to the world. I've got 64.8 gigs, and that's not even my hardback library. And it's all about companionship and trying to help each other out. And the Golden Dawn is going to teach you the LBRP and different rituals to help you empower yourself and get in tune with those abilities that you found that, yes, you've always had, you just didn't realize. Maybe that you were trying to suppress because they were making you go a little crazy. We're all in tune. We just got to pay attention to it. Some of us a little less, some of us a little more. We all have our own superpowers in different areas, though. You know, if you ever want to discuss that, hit me up on my site. I'm always open to discussion.
Yeah. And I think we're going to hang around after this is the recording's over. So, Andrew, just hang about, and I'm sure Tyce is more than welcome to have a chat. Debbie T, do you want to come in?
Hello. Oh, wow. Tyce. Hi, I'm Debs. It's really nice to meet you and to be in this room. I'm feeling really excited because I'd like something explaining that happened a long time ago in my life. But I met a guy who'd been working with Aleister Crowley, and he was into alchemy and magic. And I was about to do a drama performance, and he said to me, "Would you like me to help you invoke that spirit?" And I went, "Well, yeah, why not? Let's try it." So we chilled out, and I'm still not quite sure what happened, Tyce, but my God, when I got on to do that performance, something else just entered my zone and took me into this place that, it was like I was standing in another energetic field's shoes. I don't know how else to explain it. It was so powerful. It was extraordinary. And he also invoked another character to me that was supposed to be alcoholic. And I was already drinking alcoholically. But this character, I was with a younger group of people, and they said, "Oh, sorry, we forgot to get that sugar brown water. So actually, we've got real alcohol here. So, you know," I said, "But she's drinking vodka." They said, "It doesn't matter. We've got whiskey," and threw it in this glass. And what it made me do in that moment was turn the glass around and hide it from the audience because I was supposed to be drinking vodka. And this whole personality came out of this woman's Sister George that was entirely different to anything I'd rehearsed. It was just like this got her. And I just wonder what happened in that experience with him that invoked that energetic change. It was extraordinary.
Well,
Thanks,
I'd like to quote Ozzy. "It's inside of you and me. You don't need a ticket to fly with me. I'm free. You don't need to know astrology." Now, again, that's what King Solomon says is the difference between higher magic and ritual magic. But ritual magic does program your mind, if you can't already do it yourself, to help channel these beings or spirits or energy within yourself. Because we are connected to all, we are all. So it's all about invoking and channeling it into you. And the ritual is basically pre-programming for you to just turn on that passion and that spirit inside yourself. And that is what happened there. And the way you explained that to me is standing in another waveform shoes is like almost spot on. You know, because you feel like there's something just takes you over. And a lot of people once you understand this and open your chakras and you center yourself you feel the different energies and you start studying them, and then you study them inside yourself and how you can bring them within yourself, and you can invoke that passion in that person or that being whenever you so choose, and you can project that outside yourself. If you were to ask Jim Carrey how he does it, he'd tell you the same thing. I guarantee it.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, look, Tyce, that's I think that's the last question we're going to have. Sorry, Griff, we've run out of time now for the day, because I think we are really trying to keep this to an hour. It always overruns. But Tyce, will you please hang around after we finish recording, because I'm sure there's a few folks here I know that are going to be asking you some questions, mate. And I just have to say that this has just been another fantastic episode, another fantastic podcast. So thank you very much. So final question for me, it's one that we always do. It's my desert island disc question, and you probably won't know what that means because you're in the States. But it goes like this: through all your power of manifestation, you happen to win the lottery, and you win billions of dollars. So much so that you decide to buy yourself a luxury yacht, get all your books, all your possessions, chuck them on the yacht, and you go sailing. And you're going for 2 years, and somewhere off the coast of Fiji, there's a terrible storm, and you run aground on a coral reef. There's a huge hole, and the ship rapidly starts to sink. Shark-infested waters. You've only got time to get a plastic bag and your favorite book from the bookcase. You put it in the bag, you dive overboard and swim to a deserted island where you'll have to wait rescue for a couple of days. What's the book? Who's it by, and why?
You're hurting my heart here.
Good.
I'm gonna have to say, because my memorization skills isn't the best, and this book has most of the charts needed to remember the manifesting and whatnot, I'm gonna have to say Aleister Crowley's Book of Thoth. Reluctantly, but yeah. I would also like to throw in my own grimoire, but it's incomplete and not near as detailed. So, I mean.
Okay, well, that's a great answer. So again, thank you very much. I just wanted to say to everyone here that we have our guest next week. We'll be back here next Friday, and our guest next week is none other than David Godman, who's I guess to a lot of us will be familiar with. David Godman is the gentleman that's written biographies and all sorts of books on non-duality and Advaita, and particularly with reference to Ramana Maharshi, Papaji, and Nisargadatta, amongst many others. So please come along next week. It's going to be a whole 12-step investigation of him. So thank you very much. But anyway, listen, Tyce, thanks very much for your time, mate. It's been a pleasure, and we'll come back and see us. It's been wonderful having you here, mate. We're really, really great.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.